Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today, I'm with my boy John and a special guest, Bailey Marsh.
Daily Marsh.
What's up, boys? Thanks for having me.
Buddy, how you doing
What's going
today?
on?
No, I'm doing all right. Some crazy stuff happening in the world today, but here we are talking about sports. So never been better.
You've been better.
Need
So,
some medicine. Sports is our medicine.
oh yeah.
Exactly.
So you know what we're gonna be doing today. Today's a Wednesday, so we're gonna be talking about our recaps for every game that happened on Sunday and Monday night, and we're gonna talk about our predictions for tomorrow night's game. We'll start off with our you want to say Patriots Bills, John? Is that a good
Let's go.
place to start?
I was gonna say Vikings Packers, but let's go
You do.
Pats. Go
All right.
Pats.
Pats Bills. Cam Newton had a decent game. He was coming back. That was actually a good game that he had compared to his other games where he couldn't hit a comeback route. At least he played a little bit better. He choked a little bit at the end. Bailey, I see you shaking your head. What do you think happened that game?
I feel like Cam Newton is now just playing the way that we all thought he was playing the last couple of seasons. He's kind of lost his athletic ability a little bit. That really got him that first overall pick and that MVP award. He can't make up for his lack of accuracy and his pinpoint precision of the ball with his feet anymore. He just can't do it. He's not the same player he was in Carolina. And I feel like a lot of people kind of just like pushed him to the side. He would say pushed him to the side, but really they knew what he was about passing the ball. New England's got to be a run heavy team, and you know when they don't have a solid receiver anymore like Brandon Cooks or like Wes Welker, who's a guy who's dynamic, they're just going to have to rely on Cam running the ball, and that's just what it's going to be from now on
I mean, he did run the ball pretty well until the end. That
until
last
the
drive,
end.
they couldn't stop him on the run until he finally got it punched out. John, what do you think about Cam's ability to throw the ball and run
I
to
mean,
close games?
like Bailey was saying, his technique looks totally off ever since that injury he had in Carolina to his shoulder. I mean, I've been watching Cam the past few weeks, and ever since he came off the COVID reserve list, ever since he got healthy from that, he just hasn't looked the same to me. I mean, a dude is throwing balls like at the turf. He's throwing it at his receiver's feet, and he just doesn't look like the same
Yeah.
receiver. And sure, Cam can run on the ground. He averaged like six yards per rush that game. He had a touchdown on the ground. But I mean, you're not gonna win games by just getting rushing touchdowns in the National Football League. I think Cam is a one deal done in New England, and I think Bill Belichick is going to move on from him after this year.
See, I don't know if I agree with that. I think that the best chance for them to win is to keep Cam because
Well,
Cam.
it depends.
Well,
It
also
depends
think about
on.
this. Wait, hold on, Billy. Well, yeah, you know who his best receiver was this week?
I don't even
Kobe
remember.
Meyer.
Jacoby Myers.
That's what I thought.
That
Yeah.
was his best receiver throwing the ball to
I
this
mean,
week.
if they keep losing, if they're in their top 10 and they have a shot at a guy like Trevor Lawrence, a guy like Zach Wilson, who's been playing really good for BYU lately, obviously I don't think they're going to get Trevor Lawrence. I don't think the Jets are going to win a football game this year. But
I think the
if they
Jets
have
are.
a, if they have a chance at a guy like that who's dynamic, who can throw the ball, unlike Cam, I would say Belichick goes for that 100%.
Mhm. Trevor's not gonna follow him though. Like,
No,
No,
they'll probably
yeah,
be
no,
around like they'll be in
they'll
10 to
probably be.
12 to 15 area.
they might.
Yeah, I
And
don't. I don't think Trevor falls to them either. Yeah,
No. Mm-mm.
there's
I
too
don't.
many
I
teams that
I
without a
think
solid quarterback.
the Jets are gonna trade back though. That's a hot take.
You think they're going to
Really,
back?
Yep.
Really?
I
I
think they're
was
gonna.
hoping to see
I'm not
Darnold
sure.
on the move.
I don't know.
Hey, their Jets GM just said Darnold's their franchise quarterback.
You see what he said about Gase?
No, I didn't. I didn't see that.
Yeah,
What do you say?
you can't put all the blame on Gase. I haven't surrounded him with good weapons.
That's true though. That's also true.
It
If they
is.
have no
That's
wide receiver
completely
talent,
true.
I
That
mean
is
Crowder's
Jameson
decent.
Crowder, who's yeah, but he's hurt every week.
Yeah. Yep. But other than that,
And
you have nothing. You have the Barros. Is that his name? The
The seventh round pick, Braxton Berrios from Miami,
yeah.
who this is like the first year he's gotten over 100 yards in the season. So he's playing with a
I
bunch of nobodies, really.
well,
You guys think about Buffalo?
I think that Buffalo played good enough to win. They also played good enough to lose on defense, or not good enough to win on defense. They
Holy
should have
shit.
lost the game, but they made a great play on defense against Cam, so I'm giving them that.
Is that the defense or is that Cam though? I mean,
Well, I mean the defense punched it out, so I mean you got to give it to them.
I
I
don't know.
mean, when they started the season hot, a lot of people were calling them pretenders, and I feel like this game kind of showed everyone that they are pretenders.
Yeah.
Last
Their
week
defense,
against the
their
Jets
their
too.
defense isn't as good as it was last year. Josh Allen has not showed up in big games at all. He had the great 4 game stretch, and then since then he's been awful. Stephon Diggs really has been doing most of the work, but Zach Moss also looks very good for them. But if their defense can hold together, they'll be an elite team. But it all comes down to Josh Allen and their defense.
I wish they would have got like a pass rusher on the deadline. Just trade away their first pick, or not their first, but their first round pick maybe, and just got a pass rusher because that's real. They need a pass rusher.
Yeah, AJ Espana has not been working out for them the way they hoped.
Well, he
Neither
can
is
maybe
Ed
turn up.
Oliver.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's not gonna take 1 year for a defensive lineman to develop into like a really productive talent.
I
But
agree.
I mean, this defense just it's not looking the same. Shit, I don't know. Honestly, if I like the trade deadline is gone and it's done, but honestly, if I were Buffalo, I probably would have been buyers at the trade deadline to really make a push for a Super Bowl. But like you said, they're pretenders. They're not gonna win a chip.
Mhm.
I don't even think they're gonna make it past the wild card round. Honestly, they're gonna be in the playoffs, but I don't think they're making it
well, yeah,
past.
they're probably gonna have to play either the Titans, Ravens, or Chiefs because Pittsburgh's getting that first round bye. On the we'll
Pittsburgh's
talk about
limited.
them later. We'll talk about them later in the show, but
Pick, man. Josh Allen, what
I
the heck happened to him, man?
I know. I feel like if you have 5 wins as a team, you have to be a buyer at the trade deadline. I
Right.
feel like you can't when you have like immediate holes that could be fixed by one or two guys. You can't just sit there and not do
I
anything
agree.
on the trade deadline. That's a huge thing that Buffalo did. They just sat there. They didn't do anything.
Mhm.
I mean their secondary is nasty.
Their
If they
secondary is good,
if
but they
they
have no
can get
pass rush.
together, if they can get together, they would be nasty. They just need to get a pass rush.
Winning this year, though. I mean,
Huh?
their front seven, though, it's just not living up to the
It's just
hype.
not. Yeah, it's not the
Right.
same. Ed Oliver isn't doing anything.
He was
Mm.
They
going
just
off
don't have.
last
They
year.
don't. Last year he had a great year, and then this
Mhm.
year he just hasn't been the same guy. He hasn't been the guy that they can put on pass rush. They can put him on the edge. They can keep him in the middle. They haven't had anyone who's just been getting to the quarterback. I will say though, the Edmonds kid, I don't remember which one his name is, but one of the
Mhm.
triplets, Tremaine, is it Tremaine on the Bills? He's been playing pretty well.
Mhm.
He's a solid linebacker for them. But
All
I
right. Well,
think
that was Oh, sorry. You go, John.
Jerry Hughes, though, because he's kind of washed up. They could have traded him at the deadline to a team that needed a pass rusher.
I don't think they'll get rid of Jerry Hughes. He's kind of like that legacy guy, especially if you're in a spot where you can be in the playoffs, especially when you've been playing for the Bills as long as he has. You don't trade the guy like that.
You
All
never
right.
know.
It's been a great topic about the Bills, Patriots, Bills, Patriots. We didn't know who was going to win this game. Patriots should have won, but they couldn't pull it out. But Bailey, I'm actually excited to hear your take about Joe Burrow and his Bengals versus the Titans.
This game actually really surprised me. I had the Titans winning that game by big. Titans have been playing very well this year, but the one spot I could say that their entire team has been lackadaisical on has been their pass rush as well. Jadeveon Clowney, they gave a lot of money this offseason who has not had a single sack this entire year. A
He
guy
only
like
had
Jadeveon
one
Clowney,
tackle. He only had
yeah,
one
he
tackle.
he is a number one overall pick, former number one overall pick, a guy who's been regarded as one of the top pass rushers in the league. You cannot have 0 sacks going into week 9 and then expect to be a contender right now. But I will say this, Derrick Henry is probably the best running back in the league.
Hey,
On the ground.
they finally broke the streak of going over 100 and losing.
Yeah, 16-1 now, I think,
Mhm.
is the record. That's
Something like
still
that.
incredible. Honestly, Tannehill might be the most underrated quarterback in the league, in my opinion.
Mhm.
If you look at his side-by-side stats of his last 15 games, I think it was that I saw, and Mahomes' 15 games, I think the only thing Mahomes leads in is passing touchdowns.
Right.
He has better completion, better yards. It's crazy to think that people just think that Ryan Tannehill is just a guy who just hands it off to Derrick Henry.
That play action kills teams.
Exactly. That's a dynamic thing to have.
They run play action and hit him on a crosser, and they can't stop it.
They made a good move on the trade deadline. I liked seeing the Titans go and get Desmond King from not San Diego, from the Chargers.
They needed
I
it.
should say now. They needed a guy, and he hasn't been playing in Los Angeles. Desmond King has been very open about his hate for sitting there, not playing. He knows he's a top guy in the league, and now he gets to show that. I mean, I think the Chargers got gypped a little bit, only having to get a 6th-round pick for a guy who's been all-pro as a corner and as a punt returner. I feel like it's a huge deal for the Titans. This kind of makes them contenders in my eyes.
Right. Yeah.
John, what do you think about?
I think the Titans are legit too. I mean, honestly, I'm surprised that this might sound weird, but I'm surprised that the Bengals had I think the Titans had like 440 offensive yards or something like that, and I'm surprised that the Bengals held them to that. I thought the Titans would have obliterated the Bengals, but they didn't,
Mhm.
and they only scored 20. But I still think the Titans are legit. I think Mike
Oh.
Vrabel is a very good coach. I like him. I like his mentality. I like how he coaches his team, and you can tell that the players are really playing for him.
Yep.
Derrick Henry is legit. He's hands down the best running back in the league, in my opinion. Although you have people like Dalvin Cook and Aaron Jones out with
They're
injuries.
more they're more dynamic than he is, but he's just an absolute
Yeah, that
powerhouse.
I agree.
Uh,
Like if you're just talking about a guy out of the backfield, it's got to be Derrick Henry, a
Mhm.
guy who you can just put single back, run it, pound it. It's gonna be Derrick Henry.
Tannehill and Henry are so consistent week in and week out.
Mhm.
And like you said, I agree. Tannehill is probably the most underrated quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, in this game too, I mean, Burrow, he's playing well. I'm still indecisive about who I think will be the rookie of the year, whether it's Burrow or
It's
Herbert.
Herbert. I
Both
think
are
it's
playing
Herbert.
lights out, I think.
I
But
I think it'll be Burrow just for the fact that he has 2 more games than Herbert,
right.
Yeah, you're not
and
wrong there.
he has bigger wins than Herbert. Herbert only has 1 win. Burrow
Herbert
has
has
2.
choked a lot of games. I mean, he's young and all, but
Not Herbert. I feel like that's not on Herbert. That's on San Diego's defense. I mean LA's
also,
defense, but we'll
but
get there.
Herbert's more
but
dynamic too because he can run the ball, and I think he's more
Burrow can
athletic.
run the ball.
I feel
Burrow,
like just Burrow's got a system though where it's an air raid. It's not like he's
right.
Yeah.
handing the ball off. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Joe Mixon's been pretty much non-existent in this Bengals offense almost all year. I mean, you saw Bernard
He's
get
had
2
some big
touchdowns
games.
last week.
Yeah.
He's
Had some
had some
big,
big games. You've
but
seen
he's
Bernard though be more
Mhm.
dynamic out of the backfield because he can catch passes and he's not afraid to just run up the middle for 3 yards. He doesn't really care that much. Like he only had 66 rushing yards last week, but he
two
had 2 total
tubs. He had
touchdowns.
2 tubs.
Giovanni Bernard is having like a career resurgence right now since Joe Mixon is out. I mean, he's not playing like fantastic. I mean, he's playing okay football. He's
No,
not
but
playing.
he's doing his job.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's scoring too. And
Mhm.
honestly, like
We
even
also
in fantasy, if like Giovanni Bernard is on the waiver wire and you
I
pick him
dropped him,
up,
and
I mean,
I
then
picked him up. I started him
he
last week.
for like at least 12 points. Honestly,
he had
just the
like
way.
He
20
had
last week.
Yeah.
22. Yeah, he was the leading scorer on my team last week.
What do you guys think of John Ross? How he didn't get traded at the deadline?
Feel bad for the man. I also have one more thing before we get into John Ross. What about Jesse Bates going off on defense? He's been playing.
Jesse
He's been
Jesse
playing
Bates is
some good football.
he's a dog. That kid, he gets so underappreciated. I feel like because he's in the Bengals secondary, like
Mhm.
no one's throwing to him. So him going off last week is actually very good. Out of Wake Forest, this is his second year, I think, in the league.
Third
So
year, but same
third
thing.
year, yeah,
Really
same
young.
thing. Yeah,
He's young.
he's young. The Bengals are young. They're a good team, and if Joe Burrow can keep playing like this, maybe I was hoping they'd get something for AJ Brown at the deadline because I mean AJ Green, not AJ Brown.
Get him some
AJ
line
Green because
help.
he just has not been the same player this year. You want to see with a young guy like Burrow, you know what I mean? I feel like Tyler Boyd has really just stepped up as
Oh,
that guy, and a guy who's been very I would kind of say unexpected because he was a second round pick. T. Higgins
yep.
out of the slot for Cincinnati has been phenomenal the last I think 5 games. He's put up at least like 70 yards and a touchdown
He's
I
in
playing
agree.
each
good.
game. So he's playing great football. I think if the Bengals can get some line help in this offseason, they're going to
Yeah,
be
they need
a
line help.
contender in that tough AFC North.
I mean, where the Dolphins were last year with Flores, I think the Bengals could be like the Dolphins where the Dolphins are next year because they're heading in the
Mhm.
right direction.
I think they're a little. I think they're heading in the. I think they're a little bit better than the Dolphins were last year heading into the offseason, just because they have their
That
quarterback
that
situation.
talent, no, but that talent at wide receiver, the Dolphins
That's
just
going to
don't
help them a
have
lot.
that.
I mean, they have Devontae Parker, but they don't
Yeah,
have
but
that Tyler
he doesn't
Boyd,
have
T.
he doesn't
Higgins,
have
and if
3
AJ
of them.
Green.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, AJ Green is still a guy who could put up 1,000 yards easy.
Right.
It's just he needs to be given the receptions.
All right, guys. Let's hop right into this one. Raiders, Browns. This was a very surprising game.
That was a
They
boring
put
game.
up 6 points against that Raiders defense, which is honestly isn't great. What do you think about this game, John? Take it
Derek
away.
Carr. I mean, Derek Carr was playing well earlier in the season. And against this Browns defense to put up 112 passing yards, and he was just over 50% passing with 1 touchdown. That's so underwhelming for Derek Carr. Given he doesn't have like a ton of what I mean, he has Darren Waller, Hunter Renfro isn't bad. Henry Ruggs, I don't know.
Nelson Aguilar's been playing well this year.
Yeah,
Honestly,
but
though, I think he was game managing more because They're just feeding Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs won. I mean, he didn't 4.1 yards on the ground. He didn't get in the end zone, which I'm kind of disappointed about. But I
Yeah,
like
31 carries.
31
That's a
carries.
game manager. He had over 120 yards, almost 130. He did his
Yeah.
job. They
Thing,
managed the game. They kept the ball out of Baker's hands, and
I
that's
feel
sort of
like
explosive offense.
I feel like you can't say that Derek Carr was underwhelming in that game
I agree.
because he's just been so elite this entire year. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like he's the reason that they beat the Chiefs. The
Mhm.
Chiefs are probably talent-wise the best team in the league.
Yep.
And for them to come out and beat them, that was
I mean,
a huge thing. And I feel like that actually solidified Derek Carr as probably a top 12 quarterback in the league.
He's 14-2 right now, touchdowns to picks. So
That's a huge thing. Being efficient, especially in a John Gruden offense where it's potent enough for the quarterback just to make those quick reads. Like Rich Gannon, he won an MVP under John Gruden. So, the Raiders are going to be one of those teams. They have enough talent on defense, and it's just whatever their offense does, that's what it's going to take for them.
I think next week to win against the Chargers, they're gonna have to get Darren Waller more involved.
Yeah, Darren Waller
Absolutely.
ball enough. That's why I had a problem with Derek Carr this week. Like you said, he was playing game manager, and I think don't get me wrong, I think Derek Carr's been playing well this season. I mean, I think earlier in the season he was even like top 10 in the MVP race or something like that, but he fell out of that obviously. But, I mean, Derek Carr's not playing bad. I mean, the Browns, they're gonna double team Waller because he's the best target that Carr has, but you got to get Darren Waller the ball more.
Well,
I was just a little disappointed with him this game, but he got the win, and that's all that matters, really.
kind of hard. They were doubling Waller, but I feel like they should have spent more time in the run game because they weren't passing the ball great. But Josh Jacobs was running all over him. If you get 4 a clip, that's good.
Right.
Especially if you're running 31 times.
Exactly. All right.
And then the Browns are just.
I was gonna say, what is wrong with the Browns?
The Browns don't have a quarterback. That's the problem. You see, I loved Baker Mayfield coming out of college. He had that underdog attitude, that walk on, that like I'm gonna come out and beat you attitude. And then he gets marketed. He's like a huge marketable star, #1 overall pick. He's this guy, blue chip guy, 6 foot. Like he's a normal average American. Like you can be him too, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden he comes in the league, he gets these guys like Odell, Jarvis Landry. You got Rashad Higgins, who honestly is one of the most underrated receivers in the league, in my opinion. Then you get a guy like Austin Hooper. You got a guy like David Njoku. You got guys like Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and you're not producing. I mean, that's not a #1 overall pick, in my opinion.
He averaged 4.9 yards per attempt at quarterback. That's 5 yards.
He's been in the red zone this year, though.
What?
He's been pretty efficient in the red zone, if I'm not mistaken.
You got to get into the red zone.
The problem with that is, I remember this stat. Marcus Mariota, I don't think ever threw a red zone pick in his career. He might have thrown one near the end, but he was one of the most efficient red zone quarterbacks that we've seen in a while.
Marcus Mariota threw a red zone touchdown to himself.
I don't know if I would blame Austin Hooper's production this year on Baker, though, because I feel like the coaching staff isn't utilizing him like he was in Atlanta.
Right.
But
100%.
I don't know, man. Austin Hooper's been a disappointment. It looks like they shouldn't have given that huge contract. I think he has the most expensive contract out of any tight end in NFL in football right now. But
I think he deserves it, but they just can't get him the ball.
I just feel like to build on what you said, Casey. It's just I feel like the coaching staff obviously just isn't putting Hooper in the right standard to win. I mean, if you're looking at the Falcons, they have played terrible this year, but Hayden Hurst, the guy who they got from Baltimore, he's been playing very, very well from the tight end position, and that's because that's what Dan Quinn works with. He works with a ton of tight ends. Right. So the tight end position is a huge position for a lot of people, but Stefaniak has not been using him in the right way.
Did Dan Quinn work with Tony Gonzalez before he retired? Was he in Atlanta yet, or?
I couldn't tell you, honestly.
I couldn't tell you I couldn't tell you how far back Dan Quinn was.
I know he's on the hot seat though.
He's gone.
Is he gone?
He's gone. Yeah, he got fired 2 weeks ago.
Wow. I honestly I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure he got fired. Yeah.
I think
him and the GM.
I think you're right.
No, he for sure got fired. It was when they lost to Detroit.
Oh yeah.
When they came like the third time this season when they.
Oh yeah.
You're right. I do remember now.
Comeback loss, and they were just like, "Yeah, Dan Quinn, like you're done, bro." Like And then that's when they were shopping Julio, Matt Ryan, all those
Julio
guys.
should have been traded.
Julio should have been traded. I feel bad for
You
Julio.
could
He'll
have got
never
a
win a ring
lot
in the
for
Buena.
Julio.
Bro, I'd give up so much for Julio to be on the Eagles. It's ridiculous.
All right.
Brown bye next week, right? And then Chubb
Yeah.
comes back after that, right?
Yeah, he should be back, but we'll
He
see.
should be back, but I don't think they're not giving him like the fast pass. They're kind of keeping him slow because they have Kareem Hunt.
I don't
But
blame.
we'll see.
Yeah,
All right. Let's quickly move on to the Colts Lions. Me and John both picked the Lions to win this game. I thought it was going to be I thought Stafford was going to build off last week, the
Also,
comeback, but we just got it wrong. The Colts just outshined them. The defense was just clamps all game. Phillip Rivers could throw touchdowns, but honestly, yeah, they ran the ball not well. I mean, he had 20 for 80. Wilkins had 20 for 89. That's pretty good. But the Colts, I mean, you could run all over the Colts. You could pass all over them.
The Lions.
So, the Lions.
Yeah.
But you could also not run all over the Colts. But
yeah,
John, or well, you want to go first?
Yeah, it's just I'm not a big believer in the Phillip Rivers train. I just don't think he should be the guy in Indianapolis. I think you have a guy there, that 20-some-odd-year-old Jacoby Brissett, who was top 5 in the league in passing yards last year. I don't see why they give all this money to a guy they don't need on their team. They don't need Phillip Rivers on their team. And I feel like this was like the one game this season where you could be like, oh, Phillip Rivers played all right. But besides that, the Colts have struggled mightily because of Phillip Rivers. He's not been efficient.
You can't get the ball to Ty.
Well.
You can't get the ball to Ty.
He cannot get the ball to Ty at all. Ty for the past however many years in Indianapolis has been the guy. Like, you need a guy in Indianapolis, it's Ty, but like he only has 200 yards this year, and I feel like that's to blame for Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
I feel like Jonathan Taylor not having a big week last week was.
I guess he was hurt, but
yeah, but I mean they have a lot of running backs. You think they still have Marlon Mack on their team too? If he can,
Hines too. He's good in the receiving game.
Hines, and then Wilkins, obviously we saw last week, can do some damage. So, and the Colts statistically, I don't think they're the best defense in the league. I think the Steelers have the best defense in the league. But statistically right now, the Colts do have the best defense in the league.
Well, to me, I look at their schedule, who they played. They played Jacksonville.
Exactly. That's what I mean. That's why I'm saying I still think that Steelers team, that front seven is a legendary. We're going to be talking about that front seven for the Steelers this year for a long time. This is a good defense the Pittsburgh Steelers have.
Let me just finish off that team they played. They played Jacksonville, Minnesota, Jets, Chicago, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Detroit.
Exactly. All teams that are in shambles. But their defense has been the bright spot.
And Cleveland's offense. But other than that. But even Lions offense has been inconsistent this season.
Yeah, and it's going to get more inconsistent with the recent news of Stafford being placed on the COVID list.
Yeah,
I hope it's a false positive, but
I really do too. Matt Stafford is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league.
It's either him.
I think he's a top 10 talent. He's got to
be. Stafford could have been one of the most underrated. We were talking about
Tannehill.
Tannehill earlier, but Stafford.
Tannehill the last season and a half has been probably the most underrated quarterback. Just because for what he's done for his team, gotten his team to the playoffs. When they had Mariota and they weren't good. When they had Tannehill and they start winning, that's not just a random thing where Derrick Henry just all of a sudden started taking over the team. It was the ability of Tannehill to be able to make those plays. But I feel like as a career, we're going to look back and be like, Matt Stafford wasted his career in Detroit. He was one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks ever.
He's just mismanaged, in my opinion. He's never
absolutely. He had those Calvin for all those years, and people want to point at that and be like, "Oh, well, he had Megatron." Yeah, well, his defense was also the bottom half of the league for those entirety of those seasons. So,
hey, I mean, Stafford did have 2 costly turnovers that really hurt them, but what are you gonna do?
Colts defense too, and when your offense is that they're inconsistent.
Galladay's been out.
Yeah, exactly.
They can't run the football. They had
DeAndre Swift.
Looks like they had 30 rushing yards last week.
Yeah. DeAndre Swift really disappointed for me.
29 rushing yards. Actually.
And it's crazy to think because they have that 3-headed monster at running back. They have Kerryon Johnson, a guy who was really consistent last year from running back. They have that rookie in DeAndre Swift. And then they have Adrian Peterson, who is still a guy in the red zone who you give the ball to, and he's probably going to score.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to think that they're not utilizing them more, especially with Galladay being out, especially with them not having those big name receivers they have had in the past. Marvin Jones has not been playing his best ball. So, if the Lions actually start running downhill a lot more, I feel like they'll be a lot better. But if they keep doing what they're doing, I don't think they'll get anywhere.
TJ
All right.
Hawk has been one of the bright spots on this Lions offense.
For sure.
Well, yeah.
Yes, sir. He's been phenomenal.
Having a good sophomore year, no doubt.
I think he was one of the steals of the draft.
You think?
He was
He'll
a
be
lottery
great.
pick. I don't
He'll
think
be great.
he's a steal. I don't think he's necessarily a steal. Because
he
how
had
high are you going
talent.
to take a tight end?
That's true. But you look like Belichick.
Round maybe,
You look
but
like Belichick who grabbed the tight end. You guys, he can't draft. Belichick can't draft. But we're not talking about Belichick right now.
I mean, yeah, but he was drafted at what? Hawkins was drafted at like 11.
yeah, exactly. You took him in the second or even late first round. I mean, I'd say maybe I don't.
He's
even
early
know.
first round talent.
Yeah, he is early, but he was an early first round
Animal.
pick though.
Yeah, I know. But he could have probably went.
I think he would have
Who
been
who drafted before them?
like last year, like he is this year. I mean,
I don't remember who drafted before them.
A lot of teams could have used a tight end. All right, that's a good debate on the Lions. But let's jump right in to the Vikings Packers, the game John wanted to talk about. John, we'll have you jump into it first.
Dalvin. That's what I gotta say. Dalvin Cook is a. I'm sorry. He's a fucking monster. He's insane. And I'm sorry. I'm being a little biased here because Dalvin got me 48 points in fantasy, but the dude is insane. You saw how elusive he was against this Packers defense. I mean, it looked like they were sleeping out there. I mean, he made Kirk Cousins look kind of good, and they barely depended on Kirk Cousins in the passing game. Dalvin had 30 carries. He was a workhorse this week. Insane. Man. I mean, and I don't know if you guys were watching the game, but Green Bay, they went on fourth down twice, and they made Aaron Rodgers look like a fool. I mean, come on.
He still Rodgers still put up a good game.
No, Rodgers. Don't get me wrong. Aaron Rodgers did amazing. Devontae Adams had a really good game too. Didn't get as many receiving yards as I thought he would be, as I thought he would get. And Jamal Williams even didn't do that bad. But I mean, you're facing the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings are so inconsistent, and their offense is kind of underwhelming. Besides Jefferson and Dalvin, but I mean,
Thielen was doing good for a while too. Don't get me wrong. They just didn't need him this week. They didn't need Jefferson
They need him. Yeah,
they didn't on Sunday too in their secondary. And I mean, come on, Minnesota beat you by a possession.
Can I just say one thing, John?
Yeah.
How did the Packers not go out and get someone on the deadline for defense? They need pass rush.
I mean, I'm talking about offense. I mean, honestly, I think the Packers need another weapon on offense for them to be like a legitimate Super Bowl team.
You're not wrong.
But they're not the favorites in the NFC like the Bucs are. You know what I mean?
Or Seattle.
Seattle and Tampa Bay are going to be playing in the NFC Championship unless Aaron Rodgers can carry this team on his back like he's been doing this season. I mean, like you said, they could have even gotten a piece on defense, and they didn't do that.
I think they need a pass rusher or even a run stopper. They can't stop the run.
Right. I don't know Atlanta's pass rusher that they had on the block. I don't know his name. I don't know if he ended up. I don't think he ended up getting traded. But
what team?
I can't. Wait, what?
What team?
Atlanta. They had him on the block. He's not even.
Tack McKinley.
Yes, him. I mean,
he's mad. Yeah.
They could have man, shit. You could have traded like a second or a third even maybe for him. I'm not even sure how much draft capital Green Bay has, but I mean, come on, man. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have that many years left, and he has one Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks that the league has ever seen, and he has one Super Bowl.
I think he is probably right now the best quarterback the NFL's ever seen.
You think so, really?
Like just throwing the football talent wise.
Oh yeah.
Okay, talent wise, I could see that argument. Yeah,
because Brady's the best. Most winning. He's the most winningest quarterback.
Most winningest quarterback, yeah.
Probably the most clutch quarterback.
Yeah.
But I think Rodgers is the best thrower of the football.
Mm-hmm. To speak on the trade deadline, I mean, there's guys going everywhere. Like Avery Williamson went to Pittsburgh. How is Green Bay not in on that? they were in the NFC Championship game last year. The reason they lost the game is because they had no one to stop the run. And then in the first round, you go and you draft up for a backup quarterback.
Oh
So
my
I just
God, I was so
like
sad for Aaron
if
Rodgers
you
when I
have a
saw
guy
that.
like Aaron Rodgers, he's 37 years old. Last year was still a great year for Aaron Rodgers throwing the football. You got a guy like Aaron Jones who can run the ball consistently, be a pass catcher out of the backfield. You got a guy like Devontae Adams. You have one receiver
And
who gets
Jair
you over 1,000
Alexander, they
yards.
just drafted him a few years ago. He's an
Jerry, I
animal.
was gonna get to him, yeah. But I'm saying on offensive side, even going back to not even the deadline, just like the offseason, how do you not get a second receiver? And then the Texans have literally all of their receivers on the trade deadline. They got Randall Cobb, Kenny Stills, Brandon Cooks, Will Fuller, who
Hey, can we just
thought he was going to the Green Bay.
imagine this?
And
Imagine
just
this trade
imagine.
scenario. Back in the offseason, Green Bay trades for D Hop. They give up Jair Alexander and they get D Hop.
You wouldn't even have to go with Jerry Alexander.
I mean, you give up something good and you get him. That offense would be insane.
I don't think they had the capital to give up for D Hop. I mean,
And
Houston got David Johnson. I feel like David Johnson's one of the most underrated running backs in the league because of what he can do catching the football as well. And he just hasn't been healthy recently.
You're
But
not
D
wrong.
Hop, in my opinion, is just the best receiver in the league. So
I just think that D Hop trade was just terrible in general, but we're not going to talk about that right now.
Oh, absolutely. We'll get to that, yeah. But on the trade deadline, it's just like if I'm a Packers fan right now, I'm upset with what the organization is doing. And then reports came out earlier this week that they were in talks with Antonio Brown and they just couldn't come to an agreement. He was their first. They were his first option along with Tampa Bay because he wanted to play with Aaron Rodgers.
Imagine playing for Aaron Rodgers.
And they
just
just couldn't do it. If I'm Aaron Rodgers and I hear that, I am mad. I'm very mad. Imagine having Antonio Brown and Devontae Adams on the same team.
They don't even have a
Even
wide
if
receiver.
No, even if AB's at 50% when he was in Pittsburgh, but
Lazard, he's not healthy though.
He was solid, but when he was healthy, that's the thing. He's been hurt. But I don't consider him a number two. I just think that is their number two.
All right. That was a great talk. I mean, we talked Packers because Packers do need to get some help. But let's move on to the not so great game. Everyone, I mean, we expected it. Chiefs Jets 35-9, just gonna complete blowout. What do you have to say about that, John?
Sam Darnold's being mismanaged. Honestly, after this season, I think he should go to San Fran or I think he should go to Indianapolis. I don't know. I mean, there's not much to say about this game. Patrick Mahomes threw 5 touchdowns over this defense. Tyreek went off. Travis Kelce went off. Hell, even McCole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson had good games too. So, I mean, it's like Thanksgiving dinner. Patrick Mahomes is giving everybody a leg of the turkey. I mean, hell, I mean, the passing game was superb. It was top tier, top level, but the running game was so disappointing. I mean,
they didn't need they were just throwing all over him. They didn't have to run the ball. They took Mahomes out. They just didn't even need it anymore.
They gave Clyde 6 carries though. I mean, I feel like you should be giving your rookie running back more than that. I mean, at least give Le'Veon more than 6 carries too.
I mean, if you think about it, they just didn't need it. They played what the Jets don't do well, and they can't stop the pass.
They do. They are good against the run. They're not. I mean,
they're better. They're better. Right. They're not good, but they're better.
But goddamn,
Ellie, what do you think about this game?
I mean, what is there to say besides this Jets team might be the worst football team I've ever seen? Right. I mean, just from coaching to defense to offense, they are just non-existent as a football team. And this is the one team I honestly feel like when people make the argument that Clemson can come up and beat them, I genuinely think that Clemson can come up and beat them. I genuinely do think that because how many first round picks? How many first round picks do the Jets have on their team compared to the first round picks that are gonna be coming from Clemson?
Exactly. The only team that had a chance was LSU last year. That's the only team I think would have a chance.
Okay. Anyways, the Chiefs just showed why they're the best team in the league, regardless if it's versus the Jets or not. Mahomes is just electric with the football. Every time he touches the ball, you want to watch. And I can't even keep my eyes off the screen when he's on. He makes every play look so fluent. He makes every play look so fluent, so normal, so elegant. And in the way he's just putting the ball in everyone's hands, he's making everyone on the team better, not just himself, not just Tyreek Hill. He's got guys like Demarcus Robinson, who's been on the bench half the year, coming in, having a great game. A guy like McCole Hardman, who's literally the third option there, coming in, having a great game. Yeah, exactly. They're literally they have guys there who literally just there because they can run a 4.3 40. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Mahomes makes them elite wide receivers. Like in my opinion, I feel like Tyreek Hill right now is the top 15 wide receiver, maybe higher in the league. But I feel like if he's on any other team, he's not in the conversation because
I
Mahomes makes
kind of
him
agree
great.
with that point.
Yeah.
Because I can't see him on a team like the Saints, like the Niners, and put up the numbers he's putting up now. You know what I mean?
I think
I feel like I feel like he has a guy with Mahomes where he can beat him downfield, but he's also 60 yards down the field, and Mahomes can put it right in the breadbasket every single time, and that's why they're so efficient.
I think if
Because
he played
Tyreek
like
Hill's not having to run all these little in routes, all the out routes. He's just pretty much burning everyone down the field, and that's what he's there for.
I agree. If he played with someone like Aaron Rodgers, I think he might have a chance.
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously A-Rod, but 90%, but the other 15 whatever quarterbacks besides A-Rod, Mahomes, maybe Josh Allen, but I just don't think he has the accuracy.
You could throw it to
besides
him.
that.
I can tell you that.
But I mean, the
get
Chiefs, if they
overthrown by
can start
5 yards.
developing, if the Chiefs can start developing a run game, that's a scary team.
Yeah.
That is a scary team if they can get Le'Veon, Clyde.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're not going to spend too much time on that because it was such a blowout. But let's go to a more interesting game. And me and John just didn't predict last week, and that's Rams Dolphins. Tua did not look good. He didn't have to. The defense stepped up, punt return touchdown. Tua had the one touchdown to Parker. That was an absolute dime. Parker caught it like I don't even know how he caught it. He was like falling and caught it one-handed kind of. It was a good play. Bailey, what do you think about that game?
Since Tua's sophomore year, the year where he actually started in Alabama, not the year he came off the bench in the championship game, I have never been a big believer in Tua Tagovailoa, just for the straight facts that when he faced top 15 defenses in college, he didn't show up. The 2 games where he went and he was the starter in the game in national championship games, he lost versus Clemson. And then when he played Clemson again the next year, not in the championship, but in the game before, I mean, he was just kind of, oh, wait, no, he was hurt that game.
He did.
Don't
he
listen
did.
to me.
He
But
did.
I'm just saying
LSU.
his one.
They played LSU. That was a really good game.
It was a good game, but I didn't think LSU's defense was anywhere near where their defense had been in years prior.
You're not wrong. I'm saying he had a great game against them, and they were the
LSU,
national champions.
But I never came into this draft having Tua as my 3rd best quarterback. I had Herbert above him on my board. That was just because I feel like Herbert's more dynamic, as we're seeing right now. But I mean, Tua kind of did what I would expect him to do versus the Rams defense. He was not very in the pocket very long. Darnold was, not
It
Darnold.
protected him.
Donald was getting to him every 4 minutes, just there. He was there the entire game. His one touchdown was a slant pass to Devontae Parker. It
was a good play, though.
I mean, that's just kind of
Devontae Parker made a good play.
Devontae Parker made a good play, but it's a slant route on the goal line.
I agree.
And that's kind of just how they ran their offense in Alabama. I just feel like Tua is massively overrated. I feel like if you look at that wide receiver room he had for 2 years, he had guys like Devontae Smith, who's going to be a first-round pick, arguably the best receiver in college this year. You got a guy like Jalen Waddle, who was, until he got hurt this year, the fastest receiver in college football. You got a guy like Henry Ruggs. He had the first 2 receivers taken off the board this year were on his team. And Henry Ruggs has been playing phenomenal when he's in. Jerry Jeudy has been a solid receiver for the struggling Denver Broncos. But, I mean, you got guys like Najee Harris and Alabama that are going to make Tua look good. And I guess we'll see next week. But
this is a bad week.
Tua isn't a guy for me. If you're going to start a game and pass as much as he does and don't eclipse 100 yards, is it really worth taking out Fitzmagic, who really has been playing phenomenal this year?
You're not wrong.
One of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league, and you're just going to take him out when they're second in the division. I just don't understand the move by Brian Flores, but obviously he knows more than we do.
Yeah,
I think I think the Dolphins are skeptical. I think they might know they might see that Tua isn't the quarterback, and I think that's why they took out Tannehill. They're putting in Tua now to see what this kid has to offer, and if he doesn't produce, then they're going to take a quarterback in the draft, I believe.
I feel like they're not gonna be high enough to take a quarterback this year. I feel like that'd be a waste of a pick. I say give it to another year, but I just don't think
Tua
he'd be
elite. I think Tua is gonna be he's one of the most accurate passers in college football history. I think he could be great if you give him enough talent.
think Tua's a system quarterback, though. I mean, the guy, you get him outside of the pocket. I mean, hell, you look at Aaron Donald. He hit him. It seemed like almost every other play. But you get
That's
Tua
a
out
line problem, though. That's a line problem.
right. But you get Tua outside of the pocket. He's not going to produce like he did over in Alabama and Tuscaloosa with Nick Saban. And God, this Dolphins offense, it's just better. But it's better with Tannehill. I mean. Like you said, Tua's not eclipsing 100 yards, and he's throwing the ball 22 times. And he had that touchdown because he has Devontae Parker as his receiver.
I give
I
him a
mean,
pass for this game though, because he was playing a really tough Rams defense, and he was on.
The Rams defense
Rams
on
defense.
paper, it's a tough defense.
I mean,
But
Aaron
this year,
Donald was on
statistically,
him
they
all
haven't been that
game.
good. Yeah, well, Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in
Exactly.
the
Yeah,
league.
but I would be scared of Aaron
Well, yeah,
Donald too.
but
But
this year you can't say that the Rams defense has been anywhere near elite.
you're
But
not wrong. But
I just feel like this weekend you just saw it with Tua. Like he wasn't making the big plays he needed to make sure that he looked like a good quarterback. He made the safe plays, which is fine if you're not a 6th overall pick.
Right.
I think that we'll see if he plays better against Arizona next week. But
He would definitely play better versus Arizona. They
John,
have a much weaker defense.
John, what do you think the Broncos' game-winning drive against the Chargers? It was pretty clutch. It was nice. Drew Lock extended the play to get that touchdown. What do you think, John?
I mean, Justin Herbert. I don't know. I'm not even going to start with Herbert. I mean, you're facing the Chargers defense. I mean, they're not what they were 2 years ago when they were in the playoffs. They weren't. I mean, Derwin James. I mean, dude hasn't really been healthy, so he's not playing. I mean, Joey Bosa was underwhelming in this game, in my
He
opinion.
was a no factor.
Yeah.
No factor all year, really.
Melvin Ingram got hurt, so I mean, this Chargers defense is vapid. It's non-existent. It's dormant, and I mean, Drew Lock, he's shit. I mean, still, I really can't make a definitive decision on Drew Lock.
I can't because he played terrible in the first half, but
He's only. I mean, he didn't have a bad game though. He didn't.
turned it on in the second half.
It's only year 2. I wouldn't jump the gun on the guy. I'd give him another year, honestly. I mean, he was injured in the first half of the season. 3 touchdowns to 1 pick, not bad. 248 yards, pretty good. But again, you're facing the Chargers defense. Philip Lindsay had a good game. They barely gave him the ball, which kind of surprised me. They gave Melvin Gordon the ball, and I think they need to ship Melvin Gordon out of Denver.
You got to get rid of one of them because
I'd keep Philip Lindsay. I think Melvin Gordon is overhyped running back.
I think they'll end up keeping Gordon though, just because he's making more money. And that's just what it comes down to. I'd rather have Philip Lindsay, but I just feel like Melvin Gordon's a bigger name.
yeah, you're not wrong.
Contract though to free up cap space, because they're probably going to take somebody in free agency. Honestly,
You gotta think though, like running back is such a position now that like when you're trading a running back, you're not going to get much out of it. And Melvin Gordon's not a guy where you can get a 1st round pick from Melvin Gordon. You're probably talking like a 4th or a 5th round pick.
And that's
Gordon.
pushing a fifth.
And that's pushing it.
Fourth
and
is
that's just the
pushing it.
reality of trading in the NFL nowadays.
Mhm.
Like the running backs, you just don't need running backs to win anymore. And
But
the Chargers' problem is they have 2 very good running backs, and then they have 3 subpar receivers, with Courtland Sutton being out. Obviously, if Judy can perform better, he can be better. But I'm a big Drew Lock guy. I think Drew Lock might come out as either the best or second best quarterback in his draft when it's all said and done. I really do like Gardner Minshew. I don't feel like Kyler Murray is a elite quarterback in the NFL just quite yet. I think he has to learn how to pass a little bit better, but that's just my opinion. But I just feel like Drew Lock, the standard of hitting the standard of being an arm guy, he's just like John Elway was. You know what I mean? He's throwing balls down the field. He's willing to take risks, and that's what I love in my quarterback. If you can get him with some elite receivers in a subpar line, because talk about awful lines, the Denver Broncos have a god-awful offensive line, one of the worst in the league, and he's just getting pounded every game. That's why he got hurt in the beginning of the season, and that's why he just hasn't been playing well. And you saw it in the second half when he finally woke up and started playing out of the pocket, started throwing the ball around a little bit. They came back and won. So
he's pressured on like 60-70% of his throws too. So you're right there. They have a god awful line, and Jerry Jeudy hasn't been playing bad this year. But I mean, since Courtland Sutton, you don't have that. I mean, Courtland Sutton,
Sutton was a monster.
But I mean, you need that vet for a young rookie receiver. I mean, he's again, granted, he's not playing bad. He's playing good, but you just have to have that veteran presence in there to teach the young guy, what moves to make in this league, how it's going to work in this league, and especially in such an unprecedented season like this. It just sucks for the Broncos that Cortland Sutton got hurt.
And
But
Von Miller didn't help him out.
Von Miller too, yeah, did not help them out. The Broncos, they got lucky with this win. That's just me. That's my opinion.
Can we talk? Wait,
And
before you go, Bailey. Can we just talk about how Bradley Chubb is actually a monster?
Bradley Chubb is one of the most underrated pass rushers in the league, in my opinion. He got that's because last year he tore his ACL early in the season.
Right.
So no, we didn't really get to see him and Von. We haven't really been able to see him and Von Miller together on the same line at the same time. But God, when Bradley Chubb is on his game, he is unstoppable.
He's got 5.5 already this year. That's pretty good. That's
Mm-hmm.
He's on pace for 10, 11 sacks, and he's like in his third season. He's coming off an injury, so
they have another underrated cornerstone on defense, Justin Simmons, too. One of the more undervalued safeties in the league, in my opinion. Came out with that game against Herbert. Justin Simmons just doesn't get as much coverage and attention as other big names like Jamal Adams or Harrison Smith. Even I can't really think of anybody else at the moment, but I like Simmons. Honestly, I try to get out of Denver if I were him. I mean, that's just me. I can't really tell where this Broncos team is going to go because, again, the offensive line is so bad, and Drew Lock would be a much better quarterback if he had that line.
They can find themselves like a Quentin Nelson. They would be pretty dirty.
Right. But, I mean, this draft isn't really an offensive draft.
What do you say?
If anyone has Quentin Nelson, their offensive line is automatically dirty.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, that's true. All right, I would like to get your guys' opinions on Saints Bears. It was a terrible game to watch. The quarterback situation there is just terrible. I can't stand watching Nick Foles throw over his receivers anymore. It doesn't make me happy to watch. John, what do you think about this?
I mean, what Nick Foles is playing about like as good as Mitch Trubisky. Like I think he has maybe like one more win than Trubisky, but I mean he's been losing in Chicago. That defense is carrying that team. That's why they have 5 wins at the moment. They're not going to come out with the crown in the NFC North. That's going to go to the Packers, obviously. David Montgomery, I think he's an underappreciated player. 21 carries for 89 yards. That's not bad. 4.2 yards per carry, but you got to get it in the end zone. But I'm not putting that on Montgomery. I think Matt Nagy relies way too much on Nick Foles in this offense, and I think they need to give Montgomery more looks in the running game. Allen Robinson, if I were him, I'd get the hell out of Chicago after this year.
They can't get him the football. He had a good game this week, and he could have had more touchdowns.
Even Anthony Miller isn't that bad, honestly.
Well, you're forgetting about Mooney. That's his name,
Mooney. Right? Darrell Mooney is one of the most underrated wide receivers in the league, and I'll tell you why. Because he doesn't get hit with the ball. If you see half of the routes he had this week, he is cooking his cornerbacks.
He beat Ramsey twice.
He looked for the ball, and it's just gone. It's just
he beat Ramsey twice. He beat someone this week. I forget who. And the ball, he couldn't get connected. He couldn't get connected.
No, because Darrell Mooney, though, if they can get a quarterback, the Bears are one of the best teams in the league.
Matt Nagy agree.
Is so underrated. It's because he hasn't had a quarterback. He hasn't had a quarterback in Chicago yet. And so I feel like the fact of people saying that Matt Nagy isn't a good coach is just astonishing to me. Because he had a guy like Mitch Trubisky as a Pro Bowler. Yeah. Mitch Trubisky is going to go down as one of the worst draft picks of all time.
Watson,
number 2,
changing that team,
and he
or
made
Mahomes.
him a Pro Bowler one year. He literally had a year where he was like, "Oh yeah, Mitch Trubisky could be a solid quarterback in this league."
Matt Nagy made the Pro Bowl for him, though. That wasn't Mitch Trubisky.
That's what I mean. It's all Matt Nagy. Yeah. And if he can get a guy, I really wanted to see them make a move for Sam Darnold at the trade deadline. I feel like Darnold and a Matt Nagy offense with Allen Robinson, Darrell Mooney, Anthony Miller, Jimmy Graham, Cole Kmet. That's a team that I would.
You're dangerous on
put
offense.
them up against anyone. Yeah. That's a dangerous team. And then they have that defense with Eddie Jackson. Kyle Fuller,
Khalil Mack is having a great season.
You have a guy like Roquan Smith, Danny Trevathan up the middle. Those guys are 2 probably top 20 middle linebackers in the league. Roquan Smith is one of the best young linebackers in the league. He can cover, he can sack, he can pass rush, he can do pretty much whatever. And the Bears have that defense where he doesn't even need to blitz every game to get 10 tackles in a game. He's just making plays out there. They have Khalil Mack. They have Aaron Hicks. They have these guys there that can do that.
The
Akeem
defense,
Hicks, sorry.
the defense kept them in that game. That should have been
Absolutely.
a blowout.
Why the
But
hell
I
did they
completely
sign
agree.
Robert Quinn though? That's a waste of cap space, in my opinion.
And if you look at it from like the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles standpoint, you can never have too many pass rushers.
But Robert Quinn's been so unproductive this year. I mean,
yeah, but that's the chance you take with anybody if you think about it.
But I mean, really,
He's been more productive than Clowney.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. I think he just Jadeveon Clowney. Does he even have any forced fumbles this year? I know he doesn't have
He
any
has a tackle. He's one tackle.
He had
Seriously,
one tackle last week. He has 11 tackles this season. I think.
11 tackles. Sorry, still 11.
That's still
tackles from
terrible. That's
a guy who was a first overall pick not even a decade ago.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Oh, man.
That was a rough game to watch because I'm just there hyped up to see the Bears defense be all over Drew Brees. And Drew Brees couldn't do much except for get the ball to Alvin Kamara out of the backfield.
See, the Saints have been underwhelming just for the fact that they don't have Michael Thomas right now.
True.
Michael Thomas it's been the injuries, the off the field issues, the practice on the field issues, getting punched. You know that guy who punched it, that he punched, was actually the guy who got hit by Javon Wims this week.
That's funny. That's
Gardner Johnson was actually the same guy that called him slant boy.
He's the problem though, and not Michael Thomas. If Michael Thomas, I mean, given Michael Thomas is the diva, I do think that. But I mean, if Gardner's getting in fights with guys on the Bears too, I mean, there's no evidence that he spit in Wim's face, but still, I mean, he's got to be a problematic character on that Saints secondary.
I mean, he didn't fight back or anything. I thought he did.
I don't agree with that
there.
just because he didn't fight back at all.
Yeah.
He just kind of sat there like, "What are you doing, bro?" But in the sense of talking about Michael Thomas, I think Michael Thomas is the most overrated wide receiver in the league, just because all he does is catch slants. You cannot tell me that Michael Thomas is a dynamic pass catcher. He can catch the ball, sure, but you can't tell me that.
He's one of the best route runners that we have in our game, though.
Between Julio Jones, Mike Thomas, Tyreek Hill, and
Tyreek's
Devontae
not that
Adams,
great. Tyreek's not.
I would take Tyreek Hill over Michael Thomas.
I agree with that too. I think Tyreek.
I feel like
on another team than Michael Thomas would.
I feel like you put even with Michael Thomas this year on the Saints, I feel like they're in the same boat just because Drew Brees isn't playing the way that he usually plays.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's just
that could be because Michael
he's
Thomas
older. He's 40
there.
something years old. This is probably his last year in the league. Sad to see because Drew Brees is one of my favorite players growing up, arguably one of the best quarterbacks of all time statistically.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Michael Thomas just has that diva attitude. Like he thinks he's the greatest. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that if you're producing, not if you're sitting out practices, not if you're punching people in the face at practice for calling you slant boy. Like,
all right,
if I'm making $100 million and someone calls me slant boy, I'll be like, yeah, I make.
Yeah, I run that fucking slant.
I make so much more money than you. It's ridiculous.
All right. That game was sad to watch for me. I don't know why, but let's move on to one of the better games of the weekend. For me, DK Metcalf. Let's go on to the Seahawks 49ers. DK dropped. He did what he had to do for me to win, and I still lost to 1 by Kogan. So it's still sad to see, but DK still gave me like 40 points.
You had DK and Pat Mahomes, and you lost.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, Louis. That's like a fine 70.
Not a good look, Commissioner.
Amari Cooper needed 1 and more catch, and I would have beat him.
Did he have like 1.9 points this week?
He had 0.5.
0.5?
He had 0.5 in my non-PPR league, but yeah.
No,
I'm glad I got rid of him. Yeah.
Terrible. Holy crap.
I mean,
DK, man. Oh my god.
He had Danucci this week. He's not gonna have Andy Dalton.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later when we get to the Eagles game.
All right. That's 49ers Seahawks. What do you think?
49ers.
DK's making a case for the best receiver, man. I mean, I might be biased right now because he's my favorite receiver in the league, but I love this guy. He's last year he was so criminally underrated going into the draft. How could you like look at this kid? I mean, he's an athletic freak of nature. I mean, dude, DK, Tyler Lockett, If Russ wins the MVP, it's because of those two guys. The best wide receiver tandem in the league, hands down. I don't think you can argue against that.
Well, could you argue? Tyreek and Travis Kelsey?
Yeah,
No.
but I mean, Kelsey's a tight end. I mean,
That's different. Yeah, I
I'm
feel like
talking
it's different
about
because you're talking about tight ends, wide receivers.
You're
Travis
right.
Kelsey's Travis Kelsey like probably blocking a lot more than Tyler Lockett's blocking. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, I guess
He's
you're
not
not
getting as
wrong.
many routes as Tyler Lockett's getting. I mean, I understand what John's saying. As the two tandem wide receivers, I don't think it's much better than DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett.
No, you can't.
Seeing DK succeed is a little bit bittersweet for me, just because I love DK Metcalf. Coming out of college, Ole Miss has guys like DK Metcalf and AJ Brown on the same team, and they did, and AJ Brown on the same team, and they couldn't win over 4 games. That's just nuts to me. But it's bitter in the fact that the Eagles could have drafted him in the second round last year. It said chose
the first
JJ
round.
Arcega-Whiteside. Yeah, but no, but they drafted the receiver in the second round. Ended up being JJ Arcega-Whiteside, who I'm pretty sure Metcalf had more touchdowns last week than this kid's had his entire career so far.
Tough. That's tough.
So yeah, but I love DK Metcalf. I think he's one of the most just talented receivers in the league. I mean, when you're looking at him, he's 6'4", 220, 230 of pure muscle, runs a 4.3. Doesn't get much better than that. I mean,
athletic receiver in the league.
I know he's the
most athletic player in the league, like in general, man. This dude's insane.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about this. This is important. Talk about how Jimmy G is on his way out.
Yeah, he's
going out. Nick Mullins came in and he balled.
Yeah,
I mean, I could have called this at the beginning of the year. I was saying all last year the reason the Niners made the Super Bowl was Mostert
D-line
and was
running
their
the football.
defensive line.
Mhm.
Exactly. I feel like Jimmy G is great for what he is, and what he is a game manager, but I don't think giving Jimmy G $100 million is worth it.
No.
Not worth it.
You can't sit there and tell me that Jimmy G is a top 15 quarterback. Top. Yeah, he's getting.
I don't even know if he's top
quarterback.
15 though,
I don't
because
know if he's top 15.
he's playing
Exactly.
terribly this year.
There's guys like that have games. Honestly, I think Joe Burrow's playing 10 times better than he is.
If Joe Burrow's on the 49ers,
If I had to pick for a Super Bowl, I'd pick Joe Burrow in an instant. Not even for like their careers for right now. I'm talking about one game. I'm choosing Joe Burrow over Jimmy G.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I'm choosing Justin Herbert over Jimmy G.
Justin Herbert would be
Prone
good on
too.
this team.
Dude's he's probably out for the season. He's out with a high ankle sprain, 6 weeks.
Who is?
I mean, Kittle too. I mean,
Kittle.
It's not like Jimmy G has a lot of weapons around him, but I mean, he's always been overrated. He had that little stint in New England, and then Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers general management, John Lynch, they jumped the gun on this guy. They paid him $100 million. He's on his way out of San Francisco after this year. And honestly, like I said earlier, I can see Sam Darnold going here.
Can you explain to me why they didn't keep Emmanuel Sanders? He gave him a threat. Him and Debo performed in the playoffs.
They liked it. They liked the kid from Arizona State. I can't pronounce his last name. Ayuk. Ayuk. I can't pronounce his last name.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, the kid from Arizona State he's been dynamic this year. It's just like Debo's just been out, so it's like it's hard. But what you guys are saying, we're talking about Jimmy G here. Nick Mullins in 4 games has 852 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a 70% completion rate. That's in 4 games. Jimmy G has almost over 1,000 yards in 6. Right. So, like, if I'm a Niners fan, I'm kind of happy that Jimmy G isn't playing this week. I would like to see what Nick Mullins does as a full game versus a team like the Packers, because if Nick Mullins can step in and be the guy for them, that's not a bad thing. Nick Mullins, when he played for Beathard back in the day when Jimmy G wasn't even their quarterback, when they had Mullins playing a couple games, he did well. He was a good quarterback.
If he can game manage and still toss a few touchdowns.
Exactly.
Do you think
if he can keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hand this week, I think it'll be a good week.
If Garoppolo doesn't play in this game and they just start Mullins, I mean, that wasn't realistic going into the game, but if Mullins plays this entire game, are they they kept it close with Seattle, but are they winning this game against Seattle?
No.
They're
not putting up 30. They're not putting up 37.
I don't think there's any way they win. Yeah, I don't think there's any way they win with DK doing what he did.
Right.
I agree. I think it would have been maybe a little bit. It might have been 37-30 instead of, but
If Seattle could figure out their defense, they'd be the best
They
team
look
in the
good
league.
on defense compared to what they've been looking like.
Not when
Bobby
Mullins came
Wagner.
in though.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, you're right, but Bobby Wagner looked like a thug out
Bobby
there
Wagner's
balling.
Bobby
yeah,
Wagner is one of the best linebackers in the league. He's been for a while, but they really need Jamal Adams back. They really need some help in that
Yeah,
secondary.
he'll be back this week, and he'll be ready to go.
has Dunlap played yet?
Probably not. I don't think he played this
Probably
week.
limited last. I think he played limited last week.
Might have.
I mean,
Alright,
I think Dunlap will. I mean, he'll change the dynamic of this defense once he starts playing. Because I mean, they need that pass rusher ever since
Absolutely.
Jadeveon Clowney left. Yeah. I mean, they don't really have anything on D line really.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. All right, guys.
John Reed isn't bad, but he's been really underproductive this year.
John, hate to
Yeah.
cut you off there. Well, let's get into the most important game of the week that we had last week. I predicted lock of the week Steelers over Ravens, and they played, they balled, they beat them 28-24. Bailey, how do you think about the Steelers?
Spillane.
defense?
One name is Spillane. Spillane might be the best rookie linebacker in the league, and that's not even anything to say about anyone else. It's just he's balling this year. In the 2 games he's played in Devin Bush's absence, he's been phenomenal. He's been one of the best defensive players on a team that statistically is probably going to be one of the greatest defenses ever. And that front seven is unreal.
John,
and the fact that they didn't get another corner to
I
help
really
that
wish
dynamic.
I
was hearing Stephon Gilmore's name thrown around there. If they would have gotten Desmond Kane, that would have helped a lot. But
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Nick, you probably feel like you're in a really good spot right now as a Steelers fan.
Mhm.
You got a guy like Chase Claypool who's been phenomenal this year out of Notre Dame. You got Juju Smith, who's obviously he's a guy who
so clutch last week.
He's a guy you cannot ignore on that offense. He's just he's phenomenal. He's dynamic.
So
Deontay Johnson, he's that hot and cold guy. Deontay Johnson, if he can start hitting a hot streak and start being more consistent, that's one of the 3 tandem right there.
James
that
Washington
could challenge. I feel James Washington.
He's one of the best get it balls, jump balls
Absolutely.
in the NFL.
I think the tandem of Claypool and Juju is a top 5 tandem of wide receivers this year. But I feel like they need to be more consistent together. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But, James Conner's been playing really well. They have Benny Snell, a guy who can get them touchdowns. Their offensive line is looking very, very well. And Big Ben this year, been playing very, very, very well for a guy who I did not expect much out of after getting the whole surgery done on his shoulder. He's had the accuracy problems in the past. He's bigger, he's older, he's slower, he's less athletic, but he's getting it done this year.
He said
he's
this year
really impressed the hell out of me.
He wanted to come back and win for the veterans, and he's in the best shape he's been in a long time.
Steelers are a very good team.
Ben's been playing game manager like Tannehill has been for the Titans, but I mean he's scoring. He's getting it. Yeah,
he's making some elite plays.
Yep.
What was it?
He said he's making some elite. Oh, Bailey, no.
What?
Oh, you're frozen for a second, but you're good now.
I think I just stand still.
Oh, well, it looked like you were frozen for a second for us. But, yeah, Ben threw 3 picks last week against Tennessee, but honestly, one of them was only his fault. The other one was tipped, and one was an aggressive throw to Juju that Juju could have came down with.
And so, if close game like it was versus the Titans, I'm not mad with him throwing a pick like that just because you have a guy like Juju who can go get it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a bad ball to make. But on the other side of the ball, the Ravens they aren't the same team as last year. Defensively, they have more talent than they had last year. They got guys like Yannick Ngakoue. They got Calais Campbell.
Didn't
help
that
Marlon
Judon
Humphrey. They got
out.
Jimmy Smith. Yeah, Judon got kicked out. That's a huge thing. Judon's a huge player for them. Mm-hmm. But Lamar Jackson is not elite. I don't know how many people I have to say this to, how many people I have to tell this. Lamar Jackson, it cannot be an elite quarterback in this league. He had last year because people really couldn't figure out the read option. You stop the run, you stop the Ravens. They don't have an elite wide receiver. They don't have an elite wide receiver who can even remotely help Lamar Jackson. How many picks did he have last game?
2
versus the Steelers?
2.
2, yeah.
And both of them were very bad. Weren't tip balls. It was Spillane making a play that
most of the
linebackers just right to him.
Yeah.
It was literally right here. Just bad balls. He's not looking good. He doesn't look comfortable in the pocket at all. And now with Ronnie Staley out.
Ooh,
yes.
That was a big loss. They lost 2 offensive linemen.
That depletes the Ravens' chances of doing well in the playoffs.
I feel the Ravens
Ravens
If
still
I'm
did run all
if
over
I'm a
them, so that's a
Ravens
good
fan,
sign for them, though. They ran
Especially-
all
I
over
mean, yeah,
Pittsburgh.
J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards look phenomenal, yes, but
Yeah. But I
in the
mean,
sense of if someone can stop the run,
They can't
it's
pass.
scary.
do they even
Somebody
have
can't
like a
pass.
clear cut like number one back yet though? I mean, J.K. Dobbins, granted, he did run very well
Mark
against
Ingram,
Mark Ingram though.
It's so hard
he's
with
been
them.
hurt.
Right, but I mean,
Their clear running back is
He is
Lamar
their
Jackson.
favorite.
He is their
Lamar
running.
is their
No, they're
favorite
Lamar Jackson,
run.
yeah. I mean,
But,
he's
like-
a clear runner, but I'm just talking about running back in general. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And then you see those tweets from their guys like Marquise Brown, who's
Ooh,
their number one receiver, and he's out here. He's
the
saying you
soldiers,
have
man.
soldiers, but you never use them.
for reason, yeah.
And I don't feel like that's John Harbaugh's fault. I feel like that's you looking. If I'm looking at it from John Harbaugh's perspective, I can't be like, oh yeah, Marquise, go run a 50-yard post and Lamar will hit you in the air.
just
You know
not
what
how
I
they
mean?
play.
It's just not how you play when you're a Raven. When you're on the Ravens, you can't.
Ravens run
And
like
that's because Lamar can't make those big time throws like other quarterbacks can make.
the Ravens run like a 2 or 3 tight end set too. And Mark Andrews, I mean, I still think he's one of the better tight ends in the league, but he's been
Absolutely.
productive this year because Lamar hasn't been getting him the ball. I think they need
They've
another.
been struggling to get him to. They've been not on the same page.
No, but I think they need
Not as
another
they were
tight end
last year.
because that's how they run their offense. They have the 2-3 tight end set, and that's where Lamar is the most efficient. When you have Andrews on the right side, and then you get another, not elite tight end, obviously, because they're not going to have the capital for that or the pieces to acquire another elite tight end, and it just doesn't make sense to have 2 elite tight ends on the team. But get another good tight end on the other side of Mark Andrews. Run that 2-3 tight end set with Lamar Jackson. The RPO with Lamar Jackson. You'll see success with Lamar again, but I think he's a system quarterback. He depends on schemes a lot. And he just doesn't look like the same running back or quarterback, I should say. Yeah, technique. It just I
Honestly,
never thought Lamar was a great quarterback.
honestly, this week
Good athlete.
I don't get how the Ravens don't run the best play action in the NFL. They should run the best play actions, the best bootlegs, the best play action slides.
Yeah,
They just don't run it like they should.
With Ronnie Staley out, they're not going to run it like they did ever again this season. You know,
True.
I mean, they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't even think they're going to get past the first round.
Well, that's a hot take. Depends who they play.
That's what's going to happen,
They're
man.
probably going to end up playing the Bills. I don't know who's going to win that.
Just statistically, Lamar versus big, not even top
right
whatever
there.
defenses, just good defenses with talent. Just
He's
hasn't
struggled.
been there. He's 0-2 in the playoffs.
All right. That was a good topic, but let's get into, honestly, probably the least game, the most not important game of the week was Cowboys-Eagles. Nah, I'm just kidding. Bailey's an Eagles fan. He knows I'm joking. But, I mean, not joking, though. Bailey, how do you feel about the Carson Wentz terrible performance that even led to a win?
So, I watched the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, one of the worst football games I've ever watched. Not even just like as an Eagles fan, just in general, both sides of the ball.
I typed in the chat. I was like, "Why is this the worst game I've ever watched?"
Worst game I've ever watched. Carson Wentz. It's not. I don't think the problem is Carson Wentz. I think the problem is Carson Wentz is trying to play hero ball.
And the play calling has not been great.
The play call's been god awful, but we've kind of known that with Doug Peterson ever since Frank Reich, who's now the head coach in Indianapolis, has been gone. There's been no one there to kind of challenge Dougie to do something good with the Eagles offense. They've got guys who are dynamic, but just haven't put them in the right place. Carson's just trying to play hero ball. You know, he's out there. He's trying to make these plays, trying to throw a crossbody. You just can't do that in the NFL. Like, it's not FCS, North Dakota State, where he came from. Like, you can't just do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Travis Fulgham is a guy, though, who's been looking very, very good. I'm very excited about him. He's been balling these last 5 games. I'm so excited to finally have a receiver that I can actually look at and be like, that's my number one guy. Like, he's been there. Miles Sanders being out killed them. Their offensive line's been hurt. Their defense is just god awful. And granted, they had the pick and the whatever, not even a pick, a forced fumble touchdown, whatever. But you're going up against Ben DiNucci.
Who?
The guy is a 7th round pick from James Madison University, and they almost won. Those were Super Bowl winners a couple years ago. They were in the playoffs 2 years ago, last year, whatever.
Last year, but
they looked terrible.
Hurt, but...
terrible.
I mean, I think it's a
Okay, I
problem.
think it doesn't. I don't think it's the player's fault necessarily. I don't think it's Dougie's fault. I think Howie Roseman might be the worst GM in football. To go out and draft Jalen Rager
I knew you was
over
gonna bring it up.
Justin Jefferson is
Right.
just beyond me. Jalen Rager led the FBS in most drop passes. That means every single conference, the MAC, the SEC, the ACC, Big 12, Big 10, whatever. Justin Jefferson had 1,000 yards with a guy who won the Bolitnikoff above him in the SEC, which is statistically the hardest conference in college football. And like, I just don't see how you don't draft a guy from a national championship team. You want a winner,
Sure,
right?
you
And I
want
mean,
someone who's
obviously,
put up numbers in the big
I
games.
knew it from the beginning. I wanted Justin Jefferson, and then when they drafted Rager, I was super upset. And then now you guys can kind of see why, because Justin Jefferson is without a
Balling.
doubt the best rookie receiver in the
Yeah.
league,
No doubt.
Claypool.
without a doubt.
No, Holzer.
I'm
You
just
No,
kidding.
Justin
No.
Jefferson has been more consistent, but you know, and then
Hot
he
take.
drafted Jalen Hurts.
Holzer, that's not a hot take. Justin
That's
Jefferson
not a hot take.
stud this year.
Eh.
Claypool's a stud too, but Justin Jefferson
Claypool's a
is
stud. Yeah,
way better than
I would
Claypool.
not be mad with either of them. Yeah, but then they took Jalen Hurts in the second round instead of Chase Claypool.
Claypool's
So
had
it's
more
like,
touchdowns, but
You guys have a
Justin
Jefferson had more
Jefferson
yards.
has been more consistent after the first 2 games. He's been just getting catches on catches and yards on yards.
And
Yeah.
you know, to give the Cowboys credit, they have a lot of talent, and it's just been the quarterback for them. They should be the leaders of this division. They should have more wins than they do have right now, though. In my opinion, I feel like they screwed
Yeah.
Dak out of a couple of wins. Dak was one of the most electric quarterbacks, and even being an Eagles fan, seeing him get hurt was just devastating for him after what he's been going through. You know, with his mom dying, his
Mhm.
brother dying, him coming out with it being depressed,
Yeah,
and then
it's
the
sad.
Cowboys really not respecting him the way he did. I came into the year not a big Dak guy. After the first 2 games, I was hooked, man. Like Dak has just played phenomenal, and Andy
winner.
Dalton did not play good when he was in. Then he
Right.
got hurt. Then they have this Danucci kid who's just like, you can't expect him to win. Like he's just not an NFL quarterback. So Zeke hasn't looked good this year. Their defense has been the worst in the NFL. I mean, it was just an ugly game to watch in general.
John,
Yeah,
I know.
Both of these teams have been plagued by injuries, though, and I agree with you. Dak,
Absolutely.
I wasn't high on Dak. I always thought Dak was he's an okay quarterback. Always thought he was a system quarterback. You know, he's doing well because Jason Garrett wasn't a bad offensive. I mean,
Underrated. People
yeah,
blame
He's a
quick.
great offensive mind.
Look at
but
him on the Giants. We'll get to them in a little while, but
Dak was on pace to have a historical season this year. Dak was gonna light the league up like Mahomes did 2 years ago.
Mhm.
But I mean, God, the Eagles. When you make Trayvon Diggs, I don't even think Trayvon Diggs is that good, given he is a rookie cornerback or safety, I should say. Sorry about that, but I mean, he has 2 picks. Once threw 2 picks right into his arms like a baby in a cradle. What the hell was that? And you're making DeMarcus Lawrence look like an elite edge rusher again. DeMarcus Lawrence is washed, in my opinion. I mean, maybe it is McCarthy this year. Maybe it is the coaching staff that he had the decline. But I mean,
a hot
this
take.
historically
Hot
bad.
take.
I don't
Yeah,
think that
hot
I
take.
don't think Marcus Lawrence is the player he used to be, and I don't think
Well,
that. I
that's
mean,
clear, but he's still not washed. In my
Yeah,
opinion,
but
he's not washed.
I can't. I just don't think you should like. I don't think the argument is, oh, they let DeMarcus Lawrence, like pass rush. I feel like he's kind of an upper tier pass rusher, and the
oh,
Eagles
good, but
had one starting offensive lineman
I agree.
who was
but
their center. It wasn't even a guy that a guy that'd stop on the edge. You know what I mean?
these 2 teams, man. I mean, like you said, Zeke.
It's the worst conference in all of football. It's the worst division.
Like a fluke. Zeke is looking like a fluke this year. He doesn't even look like the. I think Antonio Gibson or maybe even Boston Scott. I mean, if Miles Sanders was still healthy, I think Miles Sanders would be the best back in this league. But Antonio Gibson or
In the
Boston
league or in
Scott
the division?
better than Zeke. I mean, Ben DiNucci, who the hell is this guy out of James Madison University? I've never even heard of that college. And you have Cooper Rush. God, Cooper Rush. He's been playing for the Cowboys for 3 years. He had like 1 or 2 pass attempts in his whole career, and that's who's projected to start this week if Andy Dalton doesn't come off the reserve list. And you're expecting to. I hear Cowboys fans. I hear people, in like the rumors they're saying, oh, we're gonna cover the spread against the Steelers. That is horseshit. God, the Steelers are gonna blow out this team. The NFC
Oh,
least
it's gonna be ridiculous.
despicable. God, it's just so disappointing to watch because in my mind, this is one of this division has been one of the best in football ever since the NFL was like ever since the conception of the NFL. You know what I mean? Like the Giants
I
have
agree.
bowls. The Eagles or the Cowboys have 5 or 6. I can't remember. The Eagles have 1. They got 1. Washington has 2. I mean, what the hell happened to this division, man? It is so disappointing to watch. Football is terrible, and I'm embarrassed to be a Giants fan. I'm embarrassed to be a fan
Okay,
of.
hold on, John. We're gonna get to that in a second. I was about to say, John, thank you for the your rant right there. But let's go to the Bucks Giants. I'm gonna let you pick up that rant. How do you think the Giants got screwed over if that was PI? I'm not saying it is. What do
That
you
was
think about
PI.
that
That
game?
was
It was.
I mean,
I
that
think it
was.
was a PI. I think it
I,
was.
I think
I
it was
think
PI.
that was PI, but that's hard to. I think it's
It's a hard
fucking
call.
stupid that the refs picked up the flag. I mean, what the hell? Make a decision. Joe Judge was living on the sideline, and give the guy credit. He's been coaching his team well, and the Giants fought in this game. Yeah, I didn't think the Giants were gonna win. I knew the Bucks were gonna win. But I mean, as a Giants fan, just watching that game and watching that pass interference call get picked up, that pissed me the fuck off. I didn't let my emotions get the best of me, but I mean, it's hard for the refs to really tell. They don't have the ability of replay anymore. But Daniel Jones, don't even get me started on this baby face loser, man. I mean, I've been on the fence about Daniel Jones last year. He had a good season, but 36 turnovers since he started in the NFL last season. That's the most since Ryan Leaf. And what happened to Ryan Leaf? The dude's a draft bust. He was picked ahead of Peyton Manning. What the hell is that? Or Peyton
Behind.
Manning was picked ahead of him, but still Leaf was picked second. And if Daniel Jones took him way too early. Gettleman is a dog shit GM, and Daniel Jones he was overthrowing Darius Slayton, overthrowing Sterling Shepard. I mean, he made that throw to Evan Ingram last week, and that was a good ball. But the dude looks like he's trying to do too much. I mean, I like Daniel Jones, but it's hard to like him when he's making these
Can
picks.
we just say that that was a big time throw to Golden Tate in the back of the end zone?
That was a good throw to Golden Tate, but I think that play was mainly on Golden Tate. Golden Tate made that play. I think Daniel Jones overthrew him. Tate had to go up for that ball. It wasn't a terrible ball, but that was Golden Tate. And I'm not sure if you guys saw what happened after the game, but Golden Tate's wife was going off on Instagram saying that Tate was open on almost every single play. And you go back and you watch the film, Tate was open on a majority of our offensive snaps when we were passing. And I'm not high on Daniel Jones anymore. I don't think he's the guy in New York. I know that the Giants, knowing our ownership and our GM, we're probably not going to get rid of Gettleman, in my opinion, because everyone thinks Daniel Jones is the guy in the Giants organization for whatever fucking reason. And we're going to stick with him for another year. I'm praying to God that we get rid of Gettleman by the end of the year, even by the end of the season, and that we somehow get Trey Lance in the draft. But that's not going to happen. And it sucks being a Giants fan because we're always in these games, except the 49ers game week 3, but it's just stupid. I just, God.
I'm just gonna say, Bailey, I don't even know if you want to say anything, but I'm just gonna say the Bucks played good enough to win. But honestly, the Giants played good enough to win the game too.
Yeah,
So I that was a good game.
They
turn
the
over the ball.
Giants,
It surprised me
Dude,
a
the
little
Giants,
bit.
if the Giants had any sort of an offense, they would be the best team in the NFC East by far. Their defense is one of the best in the league. I mean, James Bradbury is a guy that no one talks about, and he's just been electric all year. A guy who just stepped in. He can lock down he locked down the best of them. You know, he's a great guy. They have Jabril Peppers, who's great. Dexter Lawrence, the guy who they got last year in the draft, has been phenomenal. Blake Martinez is coming from Green Bay, been phenomenal.
Animal.
You know, that defense, that's a legit defense. That defense is a top 15 defense that can stop just about anyone, I feel like. But the fact of the matter is that they're always on the field because Daniel Jones is giving up the ball.
Right, they're always on the field because Daniel Jones is turning over the ball. The offense is inconsistent sometimes. I don't think Shepard and Slayton are bad weapons, but this defense
Not at
isn't
all.
very good on third down. We're not very efficient on third down. I think we're maybe a piece, 2, maybe even 3 away from being a legitimate defense. I think we're kind of in the middle of the pack. If I had to give this defense a grade, I'd probably give it a B minus, maybe a C plus. I know that sounds a little low, even coming from me.
Maybe B plus.
I'd
But
probably say B plus.
I agree with Bailey. James Bradbury has been one of, if not the best cornerback in the league this year. That's
Probably
me.
just behind Jari Alexander.
Yeah, he gave up that red zone touchdown against Mike Evans, but Mike Evans is the most efficient wide receiver in football in the red zone. 6 targets, 6 touchdowns in the red zone this year. He's in
1 yard jump balls. Well, I mean, that one wasn't 1 yard, but
Well, Blake Martinez, he's a tackle monster. I'm actually happy that Gettleman brought Bradbury and Martinez over. Dexter Lawrence is looking like a really good pick. Actually, we got him at 17 last year, and he has good value so far. Dalvin Tomlinson even isn't that bad on the line. I'm not sure if we're going to keep him after this year. And Leonard Williams even looks good, but the problem with Leonard Williams is he carries too much money with him. I don't know if the Giants will keep him, but Patrick Graham has been looking like a pretty solid defensive coordinator, and I hope we stick with him in the future.
If we can just go back to that 17th pick with Dexter Lawrence, damn, the Giants really messed up those 3 picks.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Daniel Jones, that was the first pick. Then you got Lawrence, who's been phenomenal regardless. Like, he's been their best, probably one of their best pass rushers / run stoppers up front. He's been phenomenal. He's about 300 pounds. So, I mean, he takes up a lot of space, you know.
Yeah.
But then you got DeAndre Baker, that guy they took from Georgia. That's just tough. He was going to be good. It's just, you know, he can't stay away from the guns.
I think it would have worked in Patrick Graham's system too, but you know, him and Quentin Dunbar have to run around and play poker, gamble, whatever the hell they're doing, and then they pull out guns.
And play GTA 5 in real life.
Jesus Christ, DeAndre Baker, you dumbass! You just
okay. Yeah. I know you guys want to talk about this topic, but I feel like we have to move on to the Packers 49ers. Bailey, what's your prediction for this game? Who do you think's winning? And you got a score for me?
I got the Packs big, probably putting up about 40 points, and then I got the Niners only getting up about 14. I probably have 40 to 14. Pack winning. I just feel like Aaron Rod 40. Yeah, I got 40 against that defense. I feel like their secondary's been weak. Devontae Adams, since coming back from his injury, has been electric. 2 touchdowns a week, 2 weeks ago, 3 last week. He has been Aaron Rodgers' main guy. They got Lazard coming back, first game since a while ago, but before that, he had 250 yards in like 3 games. He's been very good. You know, they got Tanyan, who's been phenomenal. They got Jay Sternbrenner. Jones may be back this game. Who knows? They have a guy like Dexter Williams, who we don't know yet, but we'll see. You know, they're out Jamal Williams and AJ Dillon. We all know that.
So what you're saying is don't bet on the spread of Green Bay 6-point favorites.
Over. Over. Way over. I feel like Aaron Rodgers is going to come out mad. He's going to come out being like, you don't want to give me Will Fuller? Fine, I'll play with what I got. What I have is Devontae Adams. You know, he's going to come out guns a-blazing. You know, he's an elite quarterback, one of the best this league has ever seen. You know, before the year started, I was kind of skeptical on Aaron Rodgers. I was telling a lot of people he's not elite anymore. You know, he's not making those big-time throws. I'm actually kind of happy to say that I was wrong. You know, he's been one of those guys this year who you looked at every game, he's making some big time plays. Every game he's there. You know, he's just doing everything he can. And then defensively, the Packers are a solid team pass defense wise, not rush defense. I don't think Nick Mullins is going to get munched because you can't throw to Jari Alexander. He shut down Adam Thielen. He shut down Calvin Ridley. You know what I mean? He's shutting down everyone you can think of. He might be the best cornerback. He's my best cornerback in the league, in my opinion. He is just shutting down everyone. I don't think he's had a receiver go over 100 yards this year on him.
Good.
So,
all right, John,
you know,
same question. What do you think it's going to happen?
I mean, man, I want to agree with Bailey. I think that the Packers, they can put up 40 points if Aaron Jones is on the field tomorrow night. But, I mean, still, we don't know. He's still questionable. I don't think the 49ers will cover the spread. I think, honestly, it really depends on if Aaron Jones plays or not. That's what I think. But regardless, I think the Packers, I think tomorrow it's going to be, I'm going to say 36-21.
Well, that's not close, but closer than I think it would be. My prediction is if Aaron Jones plays, he's going to have 3 touchdowns, 2 in the air, 1 on the ground, or 2 in the ground, 1 in the air. They can't stop him. No one can, honestly.
No one can.
Rodgers is going to have 2. I think it's going to be 27. I'll say 28-10. I don't think it's going to be that close. I don't think Nick Mullins is going to put on that great of a show. I think that they'll play decent defense, but I think that the Packers are just overall just obviously a better team, and no one's contesting that. Even though Rodgers had a good week and a not so great week last week or 2 weeks ago.
And without Kittle, you don't even have a chance against this Green Bay team. Not at all.
No, honestly, if I'm looking at it, Packers are the lock of the week.
Yeah.
You got to think about. You got to think about the Niners are so injury depleted. It's crazy. Jimmy G's out. Raheem Mostert's out. Tevin Coleman's out.
They're not
Jeff
my
Wilson
lock of the
Jr.
week.
has been a guy who stepped in for Mostert, is out. Okay. They don't have Debo Samuel. They don't have George Kittle. Their defense without Bosa, Solomon Thomas, Richard Sherman, D Ford. It's a tough game to go in and play a team like the Packers, who have been so electric this season, missing so many guys, and expect to stay in a game.
All right. Well, that's been a great podcast with my boy John and our special guest Bailey. Thank you for coming on. Hopefully, we can have you back in a few more weeks. Maybe we'll have you bring you back in maybe near the end of the season for your
Awesome,
Super
man.
Bowl predictions. John,
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Yep, like I said, John,
buddy.
it's always fun playing or doing a podcast with you. And Bailey, you have any closing remarks?
No, thanks for having me, guys. It was really fun. Love talking sports with you guys. You guys are very smart men. I love what you're doing. Keep up the hard work. Definitely gonna keep watching Holzer and John's roundtable.
Our pleasure having you, buddy. We love having you on. We're gonna have you on more, like Holzer said, no doubt about that.
I think
I'm excited.
We're gonna have a new guest try to have every Wednesday. That's gonna be our day. So if you have anyone else you would like to recommend right now, who do you think should be on the show?
I would say Record, but he's too giant heavy.
He's just like John. I'll be here. I'll be like, can I get a word in? We're not talking about the Giants every play.
My biases aside, come on now.
No, you've done good.
I'm going to be rational here. I think Record can do the same. I think he can.
Yeah, I want to get Brandon on here. I want to get Brady Kogan. I want to get Sam on here.
Oh, Brandon would be good.
I want to get Brandon. Brandon's a good guy. He's funny.
LeBeau too. Maybe.
LeBeau, both LeBeaus. Honestly, we could have a LeBeau and LeBeau episode.
You and Andy could talk Steeler football, man.
That's what I'm saying. We'll definitely have to bring Bailey back, though. We got to get his Super Bowl predictions. Bailey, off the top of your head, do you have an idea? Who do you think's win?
Super Bowl?
Yep, it's early, but I want to know.
All right. NFC, I don't even know who I have NFC, honestly. AFC, I have the Steelers going to the Super Bowl. That's the team I have going. Sucks to say because I hate building that fire that is the Steelers hype train for Holzer to use in our group chat. But the Steelers are just ridiculously good this year. They've been playing phenomenal. They're the best team in the league by far. And then from the NFC, either the Seahawks. I can't even think of another team, honestly, from the NFC. It's just been so bad.
I think that the Bucks and Packers are the only other
Bucks
teams
maybe
that have a chance.
Yeah, Bucks but like again, the Bucks and Packers just been so inconsistent, and we're like Seattle's had one bad game.
Yeah.
Well,
I got one idea. One more idea before we get off the pod, guys. Let me know if you want to hear this. Let me know if you guys are with this idea. But we got Bailey, an Eagles fan. We got me, a Giants fan. Record, Giants fan. We got Brady Hebert, a Cowboys fan. And we have Nick LeBeau, a Washington, the football team fan. I think we
an NFC East discussion?
I think we should bring everybody on for an NFC.
That'd be a short discussion. Yeah, we all suck. Yep.
I'll be over here, be like, yeah, my team's the best in the NFL.
Oh, gee. See, this is what I mean. This is why I hate saying the Steelers are good.
Well, you do love to see it. I guess not for an Eagles fan, also in Philadelphia, you know, right there next to Pittsburgh. Well, I mean, not right there, but you know what I mean. All right, if you did enjoy that podcast,
not win spot.
Yes. If you did enjoy that video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you do happen to be new. We're on our road to 50 to 100 subs before the end of the year. We're trying to grow. Me and John are trying to get a full production studio. If we blow up, we have some actual guests, get some big mics going. You know, it'll be great.
It'll be like the Pat McAfee show up in here. If you guys get us to over.
Shout out Pat McAfee show.
Yeah, shout out Pat McAfee show.
Shout
out Aaron Rodgers, man.
Aaron Rodgers.
Every Tuesday on Pat McAfee show.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, guys, for watching. See you later.
You boys.